Today I'm talking about how to give critical feedback on a book, how to be a good critique partner, and how all of these things can make you a better writer. If this is your first video of mine, hi, my name is Caitlin Duncan. I am a traditionally published author and soon to be hybrid author. I post videos on Monday talking about the writing process and all the bookish things, so be sure to hit that subscribe button and a little notification bell next to it so you don't miss out the next time I upload. Before I get started, I did want to define a few things. So in the writing community, people talk about critique partners, also known as CPs, and beta readers. I feel like these two sometimes get mixed up, and I wanted to quickly define it so that you know, as I discuss this topic, what they both mean and what I'm talking about. So a critique partner is another writer who offers critical feedback on a project. Usually this is a reciprocal partnership where you give your book to be critiqued by them and they give their book to be critiqued by you. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be at the same time. I have had critique partners that when I have a book ready, I give it to them. When they have a book ready, they give it to me. So it's not you have to look at it at the same time, but it usually is reciprocal and you usually don't pay for this. Now, there are paid critique partner people out there, and that's a totally different topic, but usually it's a fellow writer and you do this for free as a way to help each other out. A beta reader is an avid reader, and they don't necessarily have to have a writing background, but they can. A beta reader will offer feedback based on their tastes and interests within a book. So usually you'll use a beta reader to get that real reader reaction, and usually this is not a reciprocal relationship because most of the time a beta reader is not a writer. I utilize critique partners and beta readers in different points of my writing process. Usually I will give a book to a critique partner when it's in its first or second draft and I'm really looking for expertise on developmental edits, which are those big picture edits like character, plot, setting, things like that. And I will utilize a beta reader or beta readers when I'm closer to the publication process and the book is a lot more polished and I'm really looking to make sure that the reader understands the story. Everything that I hope to get on the page is actually on the page, and having those emotional reactions that I'm looking for from readers from my book. This is an important distinction because I have made this mistake in the past giving a beta reader an earlier draft, and because most beta readers are just avid readers, sometimes grammatical errors or big plot holes in stories will not translate very well with a beta reader because they're so used to reading finished copies of books and may not be able to give you the feedback in their emotional reaction that you're looking for when they're kind of stuck on grammar errors and plot errors. So now that we have that distinction, I'm going to focus more on critique partners and giving critical feedback on a project and how you can improve your critique partner's project as well as your own. Number one, make sure that the book you are reading is in a genre that you enjoy. For example, if I didn't read thrillers and my critique partner had a thriller that they wanted me to critique, I may not be as invested in the manuscript than I would be in a genre that I did enjoy. And I also might not know the traditional tropes or nuances within the specific genre that may help improve this book. While you don't need to be an expert on this genre, knowing the expectations that readers are looking for will really help you to give good critical feedback to your writer friend on how to improve the story. Number two, ask for a timeline. I cannot imagine a worse scenario when it comes to working with critique partners in that I give them my book and then they don't ever talk about it and they don't ever give me feedback, or it takes them really long time to do it, because in my mind, if a critique partner doesn't really get back to you right away, do they really love the book? Do they hate the book? Is this book even worth thinking about? I have a lot of thoughts that go on in my head, and it would be resolved so much quicker if you just made a timeline. And I get it, we're all busy, but being a critique partner is a commitment. So easy enough fix. first ask the critique partner of the book you're critiquing, when do you want my feedback? Now this also depends on word count as well. If someone has a 90,000 word book versus a 200,000 word book, which I wouldn't recommend anyway, this is a big difference in how you can create a timeline, because you do want to give enough time to actually read the book and then offer the feedback. And this also helps on your end because you want to make sure that you are given enough time to read this book and offer feedback, and they get it back in the time that they need. And if you feel you cannot reach that timeline, it's always a good thing to say that upfront so that the critique partner can move on with their process and you may have to skip that feedback round. Besides, if you're rushed, there's no way that you're going to give the great feedback that I know you can give to your critique partner, and it would be a waste of time for the both of you. Number 3, determine the focus. I usually send my books to critique partners with a specific focus on what I want to fix. Usually early in the process, I'm looking for developmental edits, as I said, the big picture edits, making sure there are no plot issues or character issues, etc. Whether you are looking for the nitty-gritty line level edits or developmental edits, just make sure you determine that up front with the both of you. This is very similar to the timeline. Just make sure you're on the right page with your expectations and their expectations. Now, once you have these goals for your focus set, you can jump into the next step. Number 4, read the book as a critical writer/reader. As a critique partner, you will usually be coming into this story at the ground floor. There will be plot holes, plot issues, characters who don't act the way their character should, and sections which are confusing or even sentences that you have to go back and read a few times to really make sense of them. The point of this whole process is to identify these sections and be able to give feedback in a constructive way. And as a writer, this is a great skill to hone. Identifying places which aren't quite right in a story is going to improve your skills as a writer, but more on that in a minute. After you've done that, the next step is number 5, note-taking. When I'm reading a critique partner's book for usually developmental edits, I will put the book in a format that I enjoy reading, which is on my e-reader. Whether it's on my phone or on my Kindle, I want to easily see the story in how I'm used to reading books so that I'm able to quickly pick out things that don't really work. If I am going to do a line edit, you could do it a few ways. I will still usually read it on my e-reader just to still have the story right in front of me as it's supposed to be read, and then I will make notes. I will highlight and make notes within the e-reader note-taking area, and then I will transfer those notes into usually a Word document that the writer has usually sent the book. Or you could read the document on your computer or on an iPad, a bigger surface that you're able to actually use track changes, or if you want to write within the text, that's completely up to you. Or you could print out the document and make notes by hand. This one might be a little more difficult to get back to your critique partner, especially if it's a longer book and you'd have to scan all these images, but it's whatever works best for you. I guess potentially you could mail it back to them, which might be a fun little keepsake. Do whatever works best for you. Number 6, formatting the critique. So after I've read the book, made all the notes I need to make, I like to create an editorial letter. These letters are usually constructed in a feedback sandwich. Now right at the top is the piece of bread, which is usually positive praise. These are the really good bits of the story. These are the things you enjoyed about the story, that you loved. Did you absolutely love one of the characters? Were you surprised at a twist in the ending? Were you shocked by what one character did to another? These are great things to offer, especially as they've been waiting for you, anticipating your feedback on their book. Then in the middle of the letter tends to be the meaty part, the constructive criticism. Where are the plot holes? Which characters could really use a closer look? What sections were confusing and didn't really add to the plot? Or what sections were missing? What were you looking for, etc. Usually I will separate this part of the letter into sections. Usually at the top I'll focus on plot or character, usually the main character or characters, depending on if you have different points of view. These are the bigger picture items that I usually highlight right away. And then I funnel down into the smaller parts, which are maybe smaller sections which are confusing, minor characters, or even if I picked up on a certain writing habit that went throughout the book, that's usually not a good writing habit, and I wanted to mention for the writer to work on in their next next set of revisions. It is very important to note that if you are typing out an editorial letter or you are discussing this with someone over text, that it's very difficult at times to convey tone in a letter. Now, I have had, not with my editors for my traditionally published books, but when I was ghostwriting, I have had some editors who did not convey tone very well, and it seemed to come at me at a personal level. So I recommend when you're finished with your letter that you take a look at it and make sure that you are conveying a positive yet constructive tone versus a negative, mean, and personal tone, because that's really not going to help anyone. And then at the end of the sandwich is another slice of bread. So adding a little more positive feedback, encouragement will definitely help bond your relationship to this other writer, show them that you are a professional writer, and also give them a little boost at the end of reading that middle section, which can seem to be very overwhelming. These are just suggestions that I use. Obviously, take what you will. This is not the only way to provide feedback on a manuscript, but in my experience with other writers and editors, this is the process that usually works best for me, so I like to provide it to writers that I critique. I also mentioned how this process can improve your own writing. Reading critically can really help you gain skills on story structure and craft. When you are not so close to the writing because it's not your book, you can really take a step back and see what things aren't working in these books that you're reading. And then when you inevitably will see these things that you don't like in your own writing, because you will learn to be more constructive, you will be able to fix those things and identify those things a lot faster. One specific example for me that I had done for so many years was creating echoes in my sentences. So that would mean I would put a word in one sentence and then also have that word in the next one and maybe the next one. That's just what happens to me during my writing process. I don't know why I do it, and then I still continue to do it, but I'm able to find it so much quicker in my own writing before I even give it to a critique partner. Whether you're looking to get traditionally published or indie published, critiquing other writers' work will give you insight to the collaboration process that happens within the industry. In either publishing scenario, you have to work with editors, and they will give you feedback on your book. So being able to understand the strong and weak parts of your novel will make the process for both of you a lot easier. And by working well with others, you will become a professional yourself. And with critiquing in itself, you will be able to cultivate relationships with other authors and become a part of the writing community, which will also inevitably lead to more opportunities. If you are interested in all about how I break down my own editorial letters, I have a video right here for you to check out. In the comments below, let me know if any of these tips resonated with you or if you have additional tips. I would love to continue this conversation with you down in the comments below. And again, if you enjoyed this video, do give it a like, hit that subscribe button and the little notification bell next to it so you know the next time I upload, and I'll see you soon.